Hello, Graham from ArionGames here, and although things have been absolutely manic recently, I wanted to put out a video telling you what we're currently working on for release in the near future. And there are 5 major things that we're working on. The first of those is related to this video, and you might remember that back in October we filmed an actual play in person here for the Advanced Fighting Fantasy Kish campaign. Those videos have been sat in a folder on my desktop waiting to be edited and collated into 3 videos for release since October, and that through workload just hasn't quite happened. I'm part of the way through the first one, halfway probably through the first one, but it is going to take a little bit of time. Now hopefully as things calm down a bit over the next few weeks I can start getting those released. Okay, so secondly on my list is the Combat Companion for Advanced Fighting Fantasy. So this is not going to be a huge book, probably smaller than Hero's Companion. What it is going to do is contain all sorts of options, rules, new talents, new skills, new templates for monsters to both enhance the ability of fighter type characters, but also to give a director different options. Now, one of the things you do often hear about many role-playing games, including Advanced Fighting Fantasy, is that as wizards get more powerful and spell users, they get all sorts of fancy new spells that can do all sorts of brilliant things, and fighters get slightly better. Now, that's not, unique to Advanced Fighting Fantasy. But by putting in various different combat options for new talents and so on, we can make warriors and fighters a real force still, even as they become more powerful. And really just to increase the fun the player of a warrior type can have in the game. So not just, roll to hit, do the damage on, and then the wizard says, right, I let go this chain lightning bolt and it attacks 5 enemies, and so on. So there's going to be some more combat options in there. There's going to be some rules. So some of these are codified from things like Stellar Adventures and so on. So things like the rule about dodging in combat, things like fixed target numbers, things like different options for shooting attacks and so on. They're all going to be in there. We're also going to put in these templates, and that will mean that you can take a goblin and you can apply one template to a goblin to get a chief, another template to get a shaman, a couple of templates to get some scouts, a couple more templates to get some veterans. So you go from having a group of 6 goblins to having a goblin raiding party. Now this does 2 things. Firstly, it is a very quick and easy way to say here's some variety. What it also does is keeps the players on their toes, because the players come along and think, aha, 6 goblins, easy, we're experienced, no problem. And then all of a sudden spells start flying and arrows start shooting, and the hero starts walloping the goblin hero starts walloping the hero player characters, and all of a sudden they have to revise that easy opinion of the goblins. That's part written, and it is all laid out, it is all planned, it is all just to be written and illustrated. I suspect it will be late January. But I'm hoping for all the text to be done by the end of this year. Now the third thing is the Atlantis Campaign. Now it's been a little while since I put out part 5 of that, and of course there are 10 parts. Part 6 is mostly written, part 7 is part written, and those I'm both hoping to have released by the end of December. With any luck, potentially 2 more in January. So that campaign should wrap up in February. Now, it's going to be a lot of work. Once it's out in February, we'll then collate it into a big book and so on and so forth. But that's the plan. Now, the third thing is, the fourth thing, I should say, is very imminent. So back in the spring, I did a Kickstarter for the Maelstrom Doomsday campaign. This is a huge campaign covering more than 100 years of history. And there were to be 4 books in total. Now the first book of that is all but finished. I've got a couple of pages worth of writing to do, which I'm hoping to get finished this weekend. I'm waiting on 1 more illustration, which should arrive this weekend, and then a few bits of layout. Then at the start of next week, maybe Monday. I'm hoping to send that to Kickstarter backers. Now, it hasn't been fully proofread yet. There may be some errors and so on in there, so I'm not going to submit it for test prints quite yet, but the proofreading has begun, and of course once I release it to all the backers, they can hopefully do a bit of proofreading too to speed that process up. But that will be out start of next week. Now, in combination with that is the Doomsday Mana Guide. This is a guide to running a mana. So whether it's as part of the big campaign, whether it's as part of a separate Doomsday campaign, this will allow the characters to run their own mana. It includes rules, annual rules for the mana to grow or shrink, and the people in there, and what's on the mana, and all sorts of other options and ideas. Not a vast book, maybe 60-70 pages, but it should be a really useful book for any Doomsday campaign. Now, although the Doomsday campaign book is only part 1, covering the first 50 or so years, 52 years I think it is, obviously even at 1 a week, you're talking a year to play that through at least. I think probably a year and a half to play that through. That's without any additional adventures, and that's if you played it every single week and nothing else. So that should hopefully keep people busy for a while part 2, which covers the next 50 odd years, is completed. The guide to all of the region is part written. I'm updating that as I go. So, but that I won't release until the second book is ready to go, because some of it will rely on what I get to at the very end of that book. So that's quite good. It is a bit of a monster. It's about 320, 330 pages, but it is, I'm really rather pleased with how it's come on. And so the 5th and final one I want to talk to you about is something that probably won't start in earnest till January, but shouldn't hopefully take that too long to do. Now, if you're on Facebook at all, or even on Twitter, you may well have seen this. So this is a sample I put together of a card for a creature from Out of the Pit. The plan is to produce a pack of 250 or so cards featuring all of the monsters from Out of the Pit, illustrated as you see in colour. On the reverse we'll just have logos and so on. And this card has pretty much all of the game information about that monster on it. Doesn't have the description, so for the full description you still need Out of the Pit, but this is an in-play reference. So the mountain giant, you can see they're encountered. There's one of them. A special ability they have is they throw boulders doing 2 to 7 damage. They're a humanoid, as we see from the icon top right. Let's try and get my finger there. And just above it you can see its average intelligence, because it has 2 light bulbs. It's found in caves, mountains and ice. It has 12 stamina, 10 skill. It has 3 attacks, because you can see 3 weapons there. And then the combat tracks here are adjusted to take into account the additions to any rolls. So if they get +1 to the roll, that is taken into account on that track. Mountain giants do double damage. That is taken into account on this track. So a GM just has to have this card, rolls the dice and looks at that. They don't have to add anything. They don't have to double anything. That is all taken into account. And of course it's relatively easy to cover up the bottom part and just show it to the players as well. So you have your image references, and you even have all of the GM details you need. So GM can go through the pack, sort out the monsters they have, put them in a little pile in front of them, and they can use them. And I'm quite excited about this. It's going to take a while to get all 250 cards laid out. There are some bits of art we're going to need to redo, because some of the creatures that were previously illustrated for the miniatures go left to right rather than up and down, and they wouldn't fit into the card. So that needs to be done, but that will take place in January, bit by bit. So that again is a project that shouldn't take too long to do, but look out for at the start of next year. Now, although not one of my 5 projects once talked about, we are pretty much there with the Fantasy Grounds rule set. Still a few tweaks, and Andrew does the coding, has a few holidays and so on. So I'm not going to push him to work ludicrously hard through those, but we're just about there, and then we've just got to get it finished, polished, sent to Smiteworks, reviewed, etc. And I would look out for the Fantasy Grounds rule set at the very beginning of next year. Now, I'm hoping to put out another video next week. If things get in the way and I don't, have an excellent Christmas, everyone, and a fantastic New Year. And thank you so much for your support during what's been a really, really difficult year. Thank you for following the YouTube channel. Thank you for buying the books. And thank you also for letting me know how much you enjoy them. It just gives me a huge smile every time I get an email saying thank you so much for releasing this, I've been playing it and we've been having great fun, etc. That is what makes it all worthwhile. So hopefully next year is going to be far better from everyone's point of view, but Arion Games is going from strength to strength with your support. Thank you very much, and happy gaming over the holidays.